So I haven't made anything with our homemade teriyaki sauce for a while, so I thought I'd give you another very, very simple recipe. This is one of the most popular Japanese dishes around the entire world. You probably don't even know the name of it, but you might have had it before. In Japanese, it's called Gyudon. Now the word Gyudon is deceptively simple. It actually just means beef rice bowl, Gyudon. And using a homemade teriyaki sauce, it's incredibly easy. Now I need to make something clear here. This is not teriyaki beef. Even though we're using this homemade teriyaki sauce, it's just a shortcut. The ingredients for Gyudon are dashi, sugar, soy sauce, mirin, and sake. And we have soy sauce, mirin, sake, and sugar right in here. So all we need to do is add dashi to it. That's the versatility of this teriyaki sauce. It's not just for making teriyaki type things. We're using those classic ingredients of Japanese cooking to create a shortcut for making all of these other dishes. Let's start with our beef. The beef for Gyudon needs to be very, very thinly sliced. In Japan, you can buy that at the supermarket. In other countries, you might have to go to an Asian grocer's, sometimes in the freezer compartment, where you can buy this kind of very, very thinly sliced beef. But here's the important part. It needs to have a bit of fat content in it. If it's really, really lean, then your gyudon is going to be quite tough. And you might have to cook it for a lot longer. So find some nice marbled, Wagyu is nice if you can afford it, but some nice marbled, thinly sliced beef, and we'll use that for our gyudon. The other thing we need is a simple old onion, and then a couple of things to go on top. Some spring onions. This is beni shoga. Beni shoga is actually, it means kind of purple ginger, but it's this bright red ginger. Not the same as the one that you would get with sushi, but it's a little bit tartar, a little bit sharper, and has a lovely fragrance. It goes great with gyudon and a lot of other dishes. This is shishimi togarashi, Japanese 7-spice. There's no set ingredients for 7-spice, but this can contain any kinds of things like red pepper, orange peel, sesame seeds, sometimes seaweed as well, and things in there, but you can find that at a Japanese or Asian grocer. And then just some spring onion for the top as well. Let's start with this onion first though. Now just nice thick slices of onion. I'll just finely slice my spring onion as well while I'm here. And that'll be a garnish for the top of my beef rice bowl. I do want to slice this beef a little bit more because I want the pieces of beef to be quite small. So just a couple of cuts through there. Put my onion in with the beef, take my stock, my teriyaki, and head over to the stove. Now the process of making this could not be simpler. All you need is some stock and some teriyaki sauce. Now the stock I'm using could be anything. Dashi is obviously the most common in Japanese cooking, but you could use chicken stock if you didn't have dashi. It's not going to make a huge difference to the final dish. Our teriyaki sauce in there too. And then first our onions. I'll just simmer the onions for a few minutes until they start to soften, and then it's in with the beef. As the beef goes in, you'll start to see a kind of grey scum coming away. That happens every time you cook meat in a liquid. What it is just the protein from the meat coagulating and rising to the surface. So you want one of these, just a little mesh, just to skim some of that scum away. And then drop it into some water. If you're using Japanese Wagyu, it tends to be very, very tender, so you can just have the meat in there for a minute or two, and that's going to be totally fine. But if you're using other cuts of meat, or if you're cutting your own meat, which you can do by putting it in the freezer and very thinly slicing it, I do recommend you stew it for just a little bit longer because you want the beef to be very, very tender. And if it's not going to be tender in just a couple of minutes, give it a little bit longer. It could be 5–10 minutes, but just taste the beef. If it's the texture you like, then you'll be done. Now, if you're thinking the process here looks a bit similar to the oyakodon recipe that we did a little while ago, the parent and child rice bowl, it actually is extremely similar. You can do exactly the same thing here with the beef instead of the chicken, and it's known as tanindon, not a parent and child rice bowl, but a stranger's rice bowl. I also want to let this liquid reduce just a little bit. I still want it to be quite soupy, but just a little bit of reduction is going to intensify the flavor of that soy sauce and sake and mirin and give it a nice umami taste to it. That's pretty much all there is to it. All I need to do now is just get a bowl of rice. The meat goes on top of the rice, and that's essentially a gyudon. You can add whatever toppings you like. A soft cooked egg is really, really nice. A sprinkle of spring onion. I think the beni shoga, the red pickled ginger, is an absolute must. And then right at the end, a sprinkle of shichimi togarashi. And that's a gyudon.